Welcome to Unlocking Las Vegas with your favorite redhead realtor, Erin Pierson-Mills. We're going to be covering the greater areas of Las Vegas all the way to Pahrump and Mesquite, talking about trends, events, sports, and more. I'm super excited to welcome all of our guests this year and have a great time, which is everything Unlocking Las Vegas. Welcome back to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Unlocking Las Vegas with your favorite redhead realtor, Erin Pierson-Mills. My redhead counterpart over here, Joshua. Hey, what's up, bud?
Hey, everybody.
You're looking like an Easter egg. It's a little bit too early for Easter.
It's spring.
I like it. I told him I'm dressed like Morticia Addams today.
I like it. And it's our first podcast of 2025 together.
Is it? Yeah. This year, slid past. It slid past. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, January was so long, but it was so busy. How's your child? You have several children, but you've got one in the house.
Yes. My little 5-year-old's doing beautiful. We recently just went by Town Square. We've done some Pop Stroke days. If you haven't been to Pop Stroke in Las Vegas, Nevada, amazing.
Who owns it?
Mr. Tiger Woods does.
That's right. Now the food there is incredible. I've got to lean into those tuna nachos are gorgeous. They decorate each one of them.
Well, you know me. You know what I like.
Smash burger.
And they got one of the best smash burgers in Las Vegas.
Okay, but it's kind of weak. You have to get 2 or 3 patties, though.
Well, that's the only way you get a smash burger is with 2 patties. So, you got to get the add patty and add the grilled onions. We also shot over to the wonderful play area where the kids have so much fun. Yeah, she's 5.
Bigs.
Mm-hmm. So they have a great playground there, great little area for kids with hula hoops.
Well, they have tons of free stuff to do, all the lawn games, the yard games. You don't have to play the golf.
Yeah, it was like a play date with 4 of her best little buddies, and we had lots of fun. We went to Mora Mora, which is the ice cream joint, another great place. So just a great time that we had there. It was fun. And she's doing great. We're doing soccer and gymnastics now, so it's 5 days a week of
with these kids' sports. Oh my gosh. So you guys know, if you don't know, my son Rocco, so he's 16, right? So we've had football, which is crazy. He's now layered track, and this kid is a worse entrepreneur than I am. That's all we've been doing. We've been having no fun, work only. This kid is kicking my butt.
So he's actually a great entrepreneur.
He is a wonderful entrepreneur.
Okay. You threw me through a loop there.
Sick, SIC.
Rocco's awesome. I love his vibe. I love the way he just loves to jump into costumes and be a part of the kids' lives. I've seen him in action. It's pretty amazing.
So let's talk
definitely
about
a gifted child.
Let's talk about half of my life these days. So our family owns the McKee Ranch in Las Vegas. If you don't know, you need to know. So pop on the Instagram, which I have taken over the helm, McKee Ranch Events. It's totally family friendly. Can you believe there's a ranch minutes from the Strip, minutes from the Allegiant Stadium?
I can believe it because I've been there, and I definitely highly recommend if you haven't been there, go check it out, especially if you have families or not families. If you just like fur babies and petting animals, it's a great place to go. Miracle March. You said how it's flown by.
There's March Madness. What's Miracle March?
Miracle March.
If you're into basketball.
Miracle March is when the snow comes for springtime, and so what happens oftentimes in Utah.
Because you're like a snowboarder.
Montana,
Let's be clear.
So a couple weeks ago.
To me, it's getting hot.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was able to get 16 inches of snowfall in Snowbird, amazing place, and then 14 inches the next day in Brighton. I've been able to slay mountains. It's been amazing. Got a full weekend of riding, 6 days straight. Absolutely incredible.
See, Josh, you are better at unplugging than I am. You're so much better than that. But I took over this mouthful of my parents' ranch, and it went viral and went crazy. And so it is now time. I get to travel during the summer because we get 2 breaks for football. 2. Period, the end.
Everything has a season, and my season's the snow, and your season's the summer. It's okay. See, in the summertime, I'm hiding under umbrellas because I turn one color, pink.
Red. Yeah.
And that's that. So, we have a lot to unpack today.
So much.
I think we've got some bombs to drop about real estate, and I think we should jump into it. What do you think?
Okay. What's your favorite question? How's the market, Josh?
The market, to me, it depends. What are you looking at? Are you looking at buying or selling?
See, that's good. That's good.
Where are you at? Are you in Las Vegas? Because the Las Vegas market is hot, and we haven't even gotten above 100 degrees yet.
Oh, let's not. I know when people are like, how's the market? I'm like, what have you heard? That's how I kind of turn it over to my clients, because they have a question hidden in that question. How's the market? Well, what have you heard? What are we talking about? I got the phone calls. We can unpack that in a little bit. What programs are available? How do you feel about the interest
rates? How are interest rates? Well, I can tell you interest rates are still where they've been at. They've come down a little bit since January. Well, a lot of it. So it's really nice. The upside to that is that the higher interest rates is everybody's best friend. Property values have gone up over and over year after year, and they're continuing to rise. And so to me, like, one of the best things to unpack here is that the springtime is one of the best times to buy for appreciation.
Okay, why is it the best time? Why is it,
that's a great question.
Like worldwide, internationally, why is springtime the best time? Why is that the selling
the snow
and buying
melts,
season?
And March and April are just historic for, that price. And then you have that June, July, August, where prices just shoot up. And so if you buy in March or April historically versus June or July, you have that extra 5-6% that you're going to make on the house money wise.
Let me tell you why. It's historically, it's like families too, because their kids are getting out of school so they can move during the summertime. That is the biggest chunk of why the spring is the hot season.
And less competition. And usually better incentives, so better deals for buyers. Everybody wants a good deal, right? Oh, I want to get the good deal. I want to get a better this or a better that.
You can't have the lowest price and the best interest rate at the same time.
I got fired for this the other day. Someone kept wanting to lowball houses and ask for 4% seller concession on a VA. And I was like, well, hey, Mr. Veteran, if you want the low price, you're not going to get the seller concession. If you want the seller concession, you're not going to get the low price. I think everything should be sold at what it's worth, value-wise. And if you're looking for a good deal that you want to get a little bit under market, they're probably going to need some house repairs. And I mean, everything's relative. Can you get both? Maybe, but your chances to me diminish considerably, like 20%, 22%. So literally the clients fired me and was like, and then texted me 2 days later, like, oh, we found a lender that'll help us. Are they going to get in contract soon? Probably. They're probably not going to get in contract soon.
That's technically not your job. That's the realtor's job, actually. I mean, we work in tandem, but I feel like I'd rather keep your money in the bank. So when you move in, you've got money for furniture, you've got money for, paint jobs, you've got money in the bank. I'd rather get money from the seller to put toward your closing costs and toward your down payment, and give them the price that they deserve, that the house is worth, and get the money from the seller to buy down your rate to
cover your closing costs. Like, let's not even focus on rate. Let's just focus on covering closing costs.
Keeping your money in the bank.
And keep your money. And so really, honestly, these clients had already been to another lender, and they've been steamrolling the realtor. The realtor, is not as experienced as other realtors possibly. And I think that, when you don't have that experience, having an experienced LO come in. So yes, you're right. It's not really my job. However, I want to make sure that I'm leading the transaction in the right direction to success.
Well, it sounds like you're helping the realtor too.
And that's my goal, is to help be a part of the transaction and be like, hey, let's set proper expectation from the start. Because how many offers have you missed out on? Well, here's what you're not doing that's not working. And so really tried to just express that, and they didn't like what I had to say. So that's okay, because I'm sure either A, they'll come back, or B, they probably will miss out on a great opportunity or another great opportunity before they get what they need.
Trying to save $50 at the end of the day, because, a seasoned realtor will be like, well, every $10,000 is only like $58.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? If you know, you know. But you have to understand the listing agent's mentality and the seller's mentality too. If you give them close to or at list price, they're more than willing to give you the seller credits because they don't see that off the top. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so it's just, it's a better vibe, because on my listing, on my condo, they asked for $10,000 off plus 6%. Which ended up to be $15,000. And I was like, well, we're not going to give them money off and pay for their closing costs and pay for their down payment. That's just being greedy. So we counteroffered. I said, is the price more important to your clients or the seller credit?
The concession.
And she goes, price. And so that's what we did.
And the standard concession, like standard in the market's like 3%, 2.5%.
Was asking for the whole ball of wax.
That's a whole ball of wax and too much.
Not good.
And I mean, you might get 4% as a veteran. That's your max credit for a VA, is a 4% seller credit. Conventional is tiered depending on down payment. 5% down is going to be a 3% seller credit max. 10% down or more is going to be a 6% seller credit max. And believe it or not, if you go 25% down, you could get a 9% seller credit. Never seen it. And then you've got FHA, which is going to be standard 6%. However, the standard in the market overall, I believe, is around 3%. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you can ask, but you can't over ask, because then we'll just laugh at you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, my seller is not going to give you everything, because it's a decent home. So you don't want to piss off the listing agent or the seller right away. We all know it's negotiable, but if you start with a bad taste in your mouth, it starts bad. You know what I'm saying?
So let's jump into some questions real quick.
Okay. By the way, thank you for the coffee. Let's do a shout out to one of our favorite coffee and tea places. So Finn, you say it.
Finn Smith.
Finn Smith.
Vietnamese coffee in Las Vegas, Nevada.
They pour their heart and soul into these cups.
Oh, some of the best coffee I've ever had.
They make you actually drink it before you pay for it to make sure you're satisfied. Love that.
I love that as a client experience. Mm-hmm. And so interest rates, guys, I'm so excited to talk about interest rates right now.
You're so excited. Let's go.
Do you know why?
No.
You don't know why?
Tell me.
So last week, the Feds concluded their 2-day meeting. And at the end of that meeting, it had been determined that they had not bought any treasuries since April of 2021. And they've got a big fat checking account right now.
Was it like 80 billion? It was something really
They have 600 billion in their accounts. 600? And usually they have about 300 billion. So what I like, I'm going to pull up some notes real quick. So if I'm looking down, I just want to share some really cool things. The Fed is now going to allow $5 billion a month in treasury runoff, which is instead of being $25 billion a month. And what that means,
we're going to dumb it down.
What that means, obviously, is that the Fed is going to purchase at least $20 billion a month in treasuries, which they have not done since April of 2021, starting in April. The bond market reacted favorably to that. And I believe that as these treasuries are purchased in April and May and June, that we're going to see some of that money, a lot of that money trickle into mortgage bonds. And what that means is that interest rates could come down a little bit more, guys. And that's really exciting news. However, if you wait
I was going to say, let's piggyback on that.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is buy now, take advantage of the spring market where we're not seeing multiple offers and all the things. You're locking into an interest rate now, and you can take it away.
Well, exactly. You can lock in the price now.
Price.
And you're going to be able to come back in 6, 9, 12 months and do a refinance. I'm helping out several families right now that are coming from the 7.6, 7.5 range from last year's closings, and they're getting rates in the mid 6s, low 6s, and this is just a beautiful thing for everybody. So what I think, really honestly, the takeaway here is grab that price on the home now, get those seller concessions, get into your home, and in 6, 9, 12 months, I'm not sure what that prediction is, come back and do a refinance and lower your payment a couple $100. The average person is saving around $250 to $300 on their refinance right now.
Which is a big deal.
Right. And then I have some other really exciting news. So I've also determined something like really right now, consumer debt is at an all-time high, right? And so having high debt balances and feeling tired of your low interest rate on your home. So you may have gotten this amazing rate in 2021, 2022.
People that are just hanging on to that 2.6s and all those. Right. And they're so uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. They're like, we can't do anything.
4.125.
We can't.
4.125 is the average. Is the rate I just actually got done helping a consumer out with. They had a 4.125 rate. Then I uncovered $110,000 of credit debt.
We talked about
that is 9 to 29%. And so I was like, great for your rate.
They run businesses, which is why they had so much debt.
We're not going to get into the particulars of that.
But on average,
no, I don't know that. I really don't know that.
Right.
And they've been carrying this debt for a couple of years. So, I mean, here's something to look at. If your revolving debt is a third, half of what your current mortgage is, even a tenth of your current mortgage, and it's at 29%, that is very toxic debt.
Yes.
And so what I was able to do for the consumer was I was able to take a $2,200 payment.
Okay.
And all of their debts combined was $5,600 a month.
Wow.
And I was able to actually consolidate that down to $2,666 a month. Like I'm talking $3,000 a month in savings, probably one of the best scenarios I've seen yet on cash out refinances. So if you're a homeowner and you're in debt, it might be good to consolidate this money and save a lot of money monthly. And also, we also talked about a plan on how can we karate chop this debt and get ahead, because, you know, he's like, hey, I really want to get my house paid off in the next 8 to 10 years. And I was like, you know, Mr. Client, if you paid, instead of the $2,600 a month, if you paid the $4,600 a month, you'll be free and clear on everything in 8 years. And you're still saving $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year over the next 8 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's $96,000 that they're actually saving, that they're going to be paying anyways. And, you know, if they could have got out of that debt by that time, which if you have a $30,000, $40,000 of credit card debt at 29%, you do the math, you're still going to have that debt in 5, 7, 8 years. So really a great result. And so I really want to get the message out there that you should really look into a cash out refinance if you're interested in, you know, just getting a better position on debt and having a lower monthly outgo. And so that's something I was really excited about to kind of share. And then, you know, it's also really looking at the way that your blended rates are. So you have your high rate and your low rate.
Okay.
And then, you know, moving into that, I actually just wanted to jump into my next topic. Let me find this for you real quick. I have a lot of notes today. And so something I was looking at is that, you know, we have about 1.8 million new homes, new families being formed every year, housing formations.
Okay.
And is building really keeping up with that? We have a housing shortage nationwide, everybody.
Well, here in Las Vegas, just according to the news this morning, we're 80,000 houses short here in Las Vegas.
80,000 in Las Vegas alone?
Yes. Yeah.
And they're just moving here by the droves. Brightline West is coming. That's going to be the high-speed train to LA. And they're also talking about connecting it to Salt Lake. And I mean, they've already built this train in Florida, so it's real. They're going to do it. It's happening. And so then I really get into just annual appreciation. You know, housing is the winner. You know, it always says in Las Vegas, the rule is bet on the house, right? Or the house always wins. The house always wins. And so, you know, looking at that in real estate, you know, housing is let's see, what do we got? 6 years. So 77 years out of 83 years, housing appreciation has won, being that it's been in the green, not in the red. And so to me, if you look back all the way back to the 40s, but let's just take it from 1972, 1973.
You know what? So we're actually looking at the greens and the reds right now. I was kind of a teenager in 1990. What happened in 1990? We all know what happened in 2007 to 2011. And those were the years, just to let you guys know. But I'm looking at 1990. I'd love to know what happened that year.
It was just a flat year,
I was a kid.
I believe. It was a flat year. We were just coming out of the savings and loan crisis from the early 80s.
Got you.
I mean, we had great 10% gains in 1986, 7% gains in 1988, 1987. You know, 1990s were flat. Okay. However, if you held on from that 92, I always like to do the graphs from like 72, 73 to 82, 83, 82, 83 to 92, 93, and then to 03. And then again, picking up back up at like 11, 12, because really the market took off in 2012 again after the great foreclosure reset. And so it's really interesting because, you know, everybody was looking for that decade and it was kind of flat. However, if you held on from 2002 to 2006, your property gain was literally like 48% increase. Yeah. So, I mean, that's taking a $250,000 house and benchmarking it $500,000. Well, guess what happened in 2011 to 2021, 22? The same exact thing happened. We tripled.
Massive.
So we have 3 decades over the last 5 decades that have tripling in real estate. Now, a couple of things to that. Obviously, I'm going to say that the last decade's been based off of, you know, 2011 and 12 to 2022, 23. That was based off of money printing, quantitative easing. I mean, you can't print this much money and not have.
It was a little scary.
Property gains. So even though the value is devaluing, so the value of the dollar, the value of the dollar is devaluing, meaning that you know, our value of our dollar goes down every year, and that's just because they've printed so much money. Well, they have to pass that devaluing into the home appreciation. And so that's something that I really think is going to really catapult values for the next, I'm going to say 5 to 8 years right now. I made a prediction that from 23 to 33, and that was in February of 23, that we're going to see real estate triple, at least in Las Vegas, and probably double to double and a half in the nation. And we're already seeing those gains happening year after year. They've been coming in. And if they lower these interest rates, or when they lower these interest rates, because two things got to happen. And we could talk about that and jump into recessions. Out of recessions of timelines, we've got about 7 documented recessions. That only one of those recessions, property values went down. So if you're concerned about a recession, probably buy your house now and lock it in, because your price is going to go up. Because when that happens, when we have recessions, is that they bring down interest rates. Yeah. And so 2 things can happen to make this adjustment happen. We either have to crash the market for values, and we've seen what they did in 2020 during the pandemic. They put everybody on forbearances. So if you owned a home, you didn't have to pay for a year, 2 years. But if you rent, you still had to keep paying that rent. Yeah. Well, we know the bank market's not going to allow a big foreclosure era. And so really the only other option is to drop rates, which will spur the market and which will really increase property values.
Drive up the values.
And so I think that that's something to really look at, and really look at the value of real estate. I mean, if you can buy something that is, I was going over this with someone else as well, that, the same $300,000 home or townhome here is $500,000 plus in Denver, is $650,000 to $700,000 in Seattle, Boise $525,000, LA $600,000 to $800,000. I want to talk about California. San Diego $700,000 to $800,000, and yet here we are, Las Vegas, where everybody wants to come visit. And you can pick that up for $300,000. We are the sell of the nation. And so I really believe that one of the best real estate investments you could make is in Las Vegas, Nevada, or the surrounding area. Let's talk about our Brooklyn to our New York. What would that be called?
That would be called Pahrump.
Pahrump. Have you guys ever heard of that? Pahrump, Nevada. It's a sleeper. You do have a little bit of commuting to do. However, with the growth that's going to happen, I think there's just announced 1,800 house lots.
Loading.
Yes. And so, we won't be able to build those 80,000 homes that we're short every year fast enough, which is going to also drive up values. Yeah. And so the real estate market is strong, and especially in our little dichotomy area of Las Vegas, Nevada area, Clark County, Nye County, and something to really look at and consider. So,
well, and I just want to say, I just think because, everybody's seeing everything on social media and television shows, and they feel like when they're going to buy a house, they got to go big and it's got to be perfect. Okay. Now, if you get your toe in the door and if you buy something appropriate for your family that you can afford, okay, that is your first step. And then you don't have to be there and stay there your whole entire lives like your parents or grandparents did. You can move up exponentially because your property values are increasing faster than you're even paying the mortgage. Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to Pahrump. My clients that bought 3 years ago already have almost double in equity. So they can easily, now that is Pahrump, that is our sleeper city. That is a sleeper.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. I love that.
Absolutely. And so even if you moved out there for a few years, because we know the little sleeper growth that's happening, commute for a year, commute for 2 years, you're going to have so much equity that you can take that out after a sale and move back to the city.
And we're 25 to 35% increase in the last 2.5 years in Las Vegas. And that brings me to my next little statement, because I printed up something really cool, and I think this is something that you should probably talk about a little bit. And that's going to be our real estate report card. What is going on in Las Vegas?
You're going to let me talk?
With values.
Wow.
Well, this part is your show. I mean, so I'm just really curious, though, why we have 269,000 eligible renters that could actually buy and afford a home. We have about 1.2 million renters, and about 269,000 of them actually could buy a home. So it's like, what are you guys doing? We got to get you buying. So tell us a little bit about what our forecast is. Share with us what your median income price is, and I'm just really curious to hear a little bit about that.
Let's go back to the eligible. When you say the eligible renters, okay. So our median price, is that what you want to start at?
This is your show. I'm just happy to be here.
Oh, lovely. So our median price is about $470, and last year we were about $440. Okay, so that's gonna tell you. But it's the education too. Can I tell you that before I got into real estate 8 years ago, and we did purchase our home. Okay. But it was a family home. So it was like kind of like a quit claim, but we did apply for the loan. I did not know, because I had an ARM mortgage, an ARM.
I love ARMs.
It was, well, if you're educated, okay.
Yeah,
Ours shot up, and I didn't even know, before I got into real estate, for the majority of the time I owned my home, I had no idea what a refinance was. I had no idea I could refinance. I had no idea I could lower the people aren't educated.
Oh, so you had an ARM back from 2011 or 2009. Mm-hmm. So you were on the Treasury ARM. So if you had a LIBOR ARM, those all went down. A Treasury ARM was the only bad loan, and only about 20% of those. So they talked on the media, they really exposed ARMs as being bad, but that was only 20% out of the 80. So
I got one
they
of
didn't
those
talk
bad
about the 80% good.
Yes.
And now they moved it over to the SOFR, which is a government controlled bond account.
Government controlled.
And so the good thing about that is current ARMs right now, they're mainly done on jumbo products and more investor side products.
Yeah.
But they're really good products. But go ahead.
But just back to the basics. They do not teach this in school. They do not educate you. And if you are a normal, regular worker, you work just at a normal place. You work in a casino, you work at a restaurant, wherever you work, you have no idea what is out there. I love social media, and I love the real estate shows now. They only show you the glamour of buying the houses, but they really don't educate you. How could you really make like a home loan show fun? I love you, but numbers aren't exactly fun, unless it's about yourself. So my point being, you have all these eligible renters, but they have no idea what they could do.
True.
So that's why I love TikTok and Instagram. And so if you actually, get a bug and, you hear something, you see something, you can semi-educate yourself and then talk to a real professional.
I mean, if you're putting away 3 to 6% into a 401k every year, you probably have your down payment saved. I mean, you can get into your first home for 3% down.
Yeah.
So even the littlest amount of money coming together, I mean, most of the time, you have to have a 720, 680 FICO score to rent a home. You have to put up a deposit, and you have to have your first and your last. So, I mean, you're pretty close to having that down payment to just come in and make it happen. And the cool thing about buying a home, like if we had a home buyer call us today, and I was able to get them pre-approved, and you were able to get them out shopping for a home, and I know you're going to get them a great contract. And that contract's set to close for, let's say, the end of April. Their first payment's not due till June.
Yeah.
What if you were to strategically make it May 4th or 5th, and we were able to close that right in the first of the month? They don't have a house payment due until July 1st.
I know.
That's incredible. I mean, you're paying, when you own, you're paying for living there, versus when you rent, you're paying to live there. Mm-hmm. And so really sliding into home base and getting giving that money up to own is to me ingenious.
And it's the smallest stepping stone. And I'm not saying just because, I just think society is just overexposed, and they think like, if you're going to buy a house, it better be the one, you know what I'm saying? But get what you need, and then lobby that, as you progress with your family and your life and your career, lobby it into your next step.
Or rent it out and create a cash flow, and then
100%.
Buy a second one. And 15, 20 years goes by. All right, we're going to segue that for the next show.
Yes.
So let's just talk about forecasted appreciation. So right here, cumulatively, 5-year gains for Clark County. If you could buy a house for, what's the median income price?
Like $470.
And so we went 5 years, at an average, gain of 20%, 21%, which I believe it'll be 28 to 35% in that time frame. Where would you be value-wise?
$100,000.
Yeah, $100,000 of gains. That's a great investment gain. I don't know how many 401ks are actually growing that much. Historically, we've seen 7.84% the last 5 years in gains, and over 10 years, you're seeing 8.32%. So I really think that there's some phenomenal things to look at there. And I mean, honestly, I think a lot of those buyers, let's look at this buyer pool here. What do we got? Demographics of age. And we're going to put this graphic up for the sheet, so you guys will be able to hopefully get that in the YouTube video. Hopefully it's down in the bottom, or maybe it might be added in the video.
Visual. He can word salad you numbers all day long, but I'm more of a visual person. So this graph is going to help you.
So it looks like the biggest buyer pool is 27 to 35.
Good for them.
However, I think NAR or Realtor.com said that the average buyer right now is 45 to 63.
Yes.
And I can see where we've got it's really tight knit. You got about 347,000 buyers in the 27 to 35 range. and you've got about 332,000 buyers in the 45 to 54 range. So they're neck and neck on that race. Now, there's a little gap between the 36 and 44 range. It's about 299,000 buyers. So I think that one of the biggest takeaways here is that you have like over 1 million people that could buy in this age range. Mm-hmm. So I think that's awesome news.
But why aren't they? I think the debt to income ratio is a little too high. People these days are not savers. We're in a different generation. Think of your parents and think of your grandparents. Traditionally, my grandparents hoarded money, saved money. We would, So you look at me like I'm talking crazy.
Well, the good news is that there's down payment assistance programs too, so you don't have to hoard money. And if you don't have access to down payment money, a gift or 401k, then you can actually use that down payment assistance.
Yeah, I don't want to scare people into thinking that you have to save that. Remember the old saying, oh, well, I don't have 20% down.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that we learned in school.
You can get in for as little as 3% down for first-time home buyers or
right.
3.5% down on an FHA loan. If you have more questions about that, call me, call Erin, and we'll get you guys started, and we'll make a plan that's going to get you guys home. I think
we'll have a non-scary conversation.
Yeah, non-scary.
Education's amazing.
We focus on payment. We don't focus on rate. We focus on what you can afford. I think we've unpacked a lot of great things today. I'm really excited to share all this information with you. Thank you for having me on again.
Of course.
And let's wrap this up and look forward to another podcast next week. We'll drop another bomb for you.
And what'd you call it? Miracle March.
Miracle March. So it's almost over. Maybe we'll get a little bit more snow. Maybe we won't.
You go snowboarding. I'm going to go find a beach somewhere.
I love it. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. It's Erin Pierson-Mills and Joshua Nieves, and we're here to help you guys get home. So
Redhead power.
We're here, Ginger Power.
All right, bye guys.